So I told my mom, I was like, hey, come to an event I'm speaking at, right?
Oh, shit.
And they walk up, and it's a fucking stadium of 15,000 people. And I got to go out on that stage. I had them front row, and I told that story about when I was born, and I got to thank them for not aborting me in front of everybody.
They know that I go flip mode when I bust the rhymes. Man's on a different thing, man, I told him 100 times. I did a bunch of crimes, and none of them were done for the vine. So you can take that bullshit and stick that where the sun don't shine. The summer's up, it's about to get real cold. Late nights in the studio with the bros.
Welcome back to the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness. Guys, we just passed 80K subscribers. Appreciate you guys, all right? We fucking love you guys. All the love you've been showing us has been fucking amazing. And obviously, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave us a comment. I always say this, literally leave us any comment and we're fucking happy with it. We'll take it. It's good for the algorithm, no?
Oh, buddy, we need to fucking rape that algorithm right now.
Okay.
Cut that. Guys, we're in the MBH HQ right now.
Yes,
You guys haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Doing a pod out of here right now. Rainy day, but we're still happy as fuck to be here.
Yes.
So this is the MBH HQ.
Yes.
And we're hella inspired today to be with our guy, Nick Santonastasso.
That was really good. Give me some.
You know?
Was that good? Yeah?
Listen,
We were
I'm
practicing.
Italian, so I can kind of get
Good,
it. You know?
that's
Are you
great.
Italian?
Yeah.
You're Italian?
Sicily, yeah.
Oh,
Well, Jersey.
shit.
You're from Jersey. You gotta be.
Of course.
Yeah.
So your parents were born there? Or you're third generation?
Grandparent. Yeah.
Sick.
Blood is there. There's actually, I've heard there's a town in Sicily called Santonastasso.
Probably is.
I gotta go.
There you go.
Probably is.
100%.
Have you
Yeah.
Have
That's
you
where
ever
come
been to
from.
Italy?
No, I think I'm going in July.
Oh, shit.
Summertime. It's going to
Yeah?
be sick. You're going to love it, bro.
Yeah, let me know if you want to roll through.
100%.
We'll
Is
see
it,
in Italy.
are you gonna be working? They do some events there, or just
No,
straight
we-
vacation?
We took off a month of like, don't book me anywhere, no
Nice.
speaking, no nothing, maybe some virtual stuff. And I said, I'm going to go travel Europe, maybe Dubai, like just,
Bro, go
Sick.
nuts.
Yeah,
You have
that's-
family over there in Italy?
no.
No?
I'm just take one of my boys and be like,
Okay.
let's ride around Europe.
You're going to
Oh.
love it, bro.
I'm
Oh,
excited.
that's sick.
Lots of history there, man. That's for sure. But we want to get into your story, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have questions, and a lot of people are going to want the context as to how you got where you are today. You were born with no legs and one arm, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Like
We can
just
dive
saying
into
that,
it.
just saying that is like, it's crazy, man. I definitely want to dive into even getting into the story of when you were born and the conversations that were had. I know you speak about it sometimes, but
sure.
I think giving some context around that would add a lot of inspiration for people
Yeah.
as well.
We got a unicorn here today, so let's give
Bro.
him some context. Right?
Yeah, let's go.
So I'm 26 years old.
Okay.
And so in 1996, my parents went in for an ultrasound, just like, a regular ultrasound. And I have 3 other siblings. And so this was their last kid. They went in for a late ultrasound, and suddenly the doctors, pulled up the screen and they started freaking out. And they were like, well, what's wrong? And they said, well, from the looks of it, it doesn't look like your baby's limbs are being developed. Looks like he's missing, on the screen, it looks like he's missing his legs. It looks like he's missing his arms. And they're like, I think he has a cleft palate or his face is messed up. And I always say, clearly they lied about my face. Beautiful human being, right? Experts lie, right? And the important thing is they classify me with hand-heart syndrome, which either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs.
Okay.
So at the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen it happen to.
Wow.
And out of the 12, 8 of those babies have passed away due to undeveloped organs.
Wow.
And
Is
so
that when they were born, they passed away, or
yeah,
later
so
on?
so
Okay.
they're born and they can't breathe on their own, they can't eat on their own, they're hooked up to machines, and they later
Okay.
on pass away. And so they looked at my parents and said he's got a 30% chance to live.
Wow.
And in that moment, my parents made a decision. And I want the audience to understand this, that oftentimes we think changing our life is this big, drastic, overwhelming thing. We see people on Instagram, it's like, wow, that's really far ahead. Like, that's really far out. Like, that's not tangible. I can't touch it. When in reality, your life changes in a moment of decision. That's all it is, right? When you decided to do the pod, your life changed.
Yeah.
When you decided to get the headquarters here, your life changed. When you decide to, put down a vice and pick up a dumbbell, your life changes, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding that your life changes in a moment of decision. And the decisions that my parents made was that they were going to hyper-focus on the 30% chance of me surviving versus the 70% chance of me dying. And I always say the reason being, the way the brain works, what you focus on, you get more of.
Yep.
And the truth is, most people are listening. You let your brain run the show, and you're always focused on what's wrong or what you don't have, and that's why your life looks like the way it looks.
It's true.
So
That's
I was born.
amazing.
Clearly, I was born. All my organs were 100% healthy, and the only thing that was affected were my limbs. And so my parents were super pumped. They're like, "Yo, all those organs are great." They didn't listen to the doctors. The doctors wanted to abort me, or once I was born, they wanted to institutionalize me, put me in a camp or something. And you look at it. I mean, in 1996, unicorns like me, they would, keep them hush.
For sure.
Right? It wasn't like you go out in the open. Like now, the world is getting more accessible, and we're exposed to that different type of stuff. And my parents were like, "Oh hell no! Like if everyone's hiding, like everyone's gonna know Nick."
Yeah,
and that's the approach that they took.
Man,
Wow.
I mean, how was it for your parents having that battle? I mean, at that time with the doctors and stuff like that, because you have these experts saying stuff, right? And especially at that time, I mean, now we have so much more information, 2023, right?
100%.
So how do they ever talk to you about that and what they went through during that time?
Yeah, it was super difficult, right? And like me, I don't have kids, so I can never experience that. I'll never know what they've experienced unless you go through it. But I think what it comes down to is you have two ways that you can operate. You can either operate out of fear, which most of the world operates out of fear. What if this doesn't work? What if it's going to fail? What if they unsubscribe? What if I get canceled, right? Like we operate off of fear. And I think my mom was like, "Hey, I'm going to operate off my faith. Like this is really going to be a testament or a test of my faith. And I'm going to have faith that whatever happens, happens. Whatever is mine's mine. And whatever outcome happens, like I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to gain from it." And so I think it was super difficult. My mom did a lot of praying, a lot of just faith, and I think she kept her circle tight because most people around her were like, "Yo, it's not a good idea.
Bad energy.
Abort." So she had to keep a very tight circle. But God bless them for going through that.
First of all, kudos to them. Like that's crazy, especially like looking at it as like third child too. You got to think about it. Like it's like, okay, you've had 1, 2, and the third one, you're like, the doctors are telling you all this shit. I'm sure there's people in their circle or close to it saying, "Hey, maybe do this, maybe don't do that." So just the fact that they went through it is pretty insane. But I'm curious moving from there, like your childhood.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Because obviously, like, did you go to a regular school? Was there hardships there? Like, how were you treated? Because like you said, 1996, okay, give it 4 or 5 years, or you're in 2000. You know what I mean? Like, again, not something that you see very often because there's no online world to be open to it, right? To be like,
to
oh,
compare
shit.
things to.
You know what I mean? Like, so what was your early childhood like?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And I want the audience to know as well is that you can have all your limbs, you can have your legs and your arms and still be handicapped by your childhood. Wow. Right? And so
It's true.
I want to dive into this so people can have some aha moments is most of your model of the world and the way that you see things, your beliefs, your perception of the matrix, whatever you want to call it, right, is cultivated between 0 and 7 years old. Okay. Because your brain is in what we call theta state. Okay. And theta state is the door to the subconscious mind, right? So you're very suggestible. You believe it. As a kid, you believe everything you see, right? Yeah. They told you that's a bird. That's a bird.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's a bird, but you told me it was a bird when I was a young kid, right? Yeah. And so there's a few things that we hear as little boys or little girls that we start to believe. Things like, we can't afford that. Or money doesn't grow on trees. Bullshit, they print it, right? Yeah. Rich people are evil. Rich people are greedy. They probably screwed someone over for that Lamborghini. Yeah. Big boys don't cry. Big girls don't cry. Yeah. And so at an early age, you believe money was hard to make. Mm-hmm. At an early age, you believe that you shouldn't deal with your feelings because big boys don't cry. I just got to suppress it, right? Yeah. And then we soothe and soothe and soothe. And so I just wanted to give them the context of like, you can look back and be like, oh, I've heard that before. And you wonder where your relationship with money comes from. You wonder why maybe you grew up in a household where your parents didn't have an intimate relationship and you don't even know how to express intimacy, right? So start to be aware and go inward of like, oh, that's where I picked it up, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, my parents took a pretty, I'd say, aggressive approach. And the approach was that after I was a baby, when I got to a certain age, they would put my clothes in front of me and say, okay, figure it out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they would give me verbal suggestions and they watch me fall and try to put my clothes on. And clearly I figured it out. I got some clothes on the couch here today, right? But then they would sit me in my high chair and they'd be like, here's a spoon, here's some waffles, go to town, right? Ooh. And what was so powerful about that, maybe they knew what they were doing, but by the way, there's two things that happen as a kid. The first thing is you believe all adults have their shit together.
True.
Facts.
And that's a lie.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, why did mommy and daddy treat me like that? Or why didn't I have everything? And it's like, yo, they were doing the best they could with what they knew and their current software, their current conditioning.
It's facts.
Right?
It's facts.
And so the other thing you believe as a kid is you think everything's your fault. Why did mommy and daddy split up? What did I do wrong? Why don't we have food? What did I do wrong? Right? We take all the burden. Yeah. And so they took this aggressive approach, and they would give me verbal suggestions, but they never do the work for me. And what they were doing was, the first thing that they were doing was, I don't know if they knew this, but they were programming my brain to be solution-oriented.
Yes.
Now, most people walk around focused on the problem.
Yeah.
What we need to understand is that focus is the gasoline to your problems. And so what I mean by that is, have you ever had a small, teeny-weeny problem and you focus all your energy on it and it became massive and overwhelming? You're like, fuck. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like, bro, this is very small. Like, we can handle this, right? Yeah. And so you can ask yourself, do I find myself focusing on the problem, or do I find myself focusing on the solution?
Yep.
Now, as you get into this world and in your audience of like, they want to break out. They want to break out of the matrix. They want to become a high-valued man or woman, right? You make money in direct correlation to the problems that you solve for the world. You want to make more money, solve a bigger problem. Start being solution-oriented. So I was cultivated into a solution-oriented human being, but also the big one was I became best friends with failure. Most people run away from failure.
Yeah.
They don't want to experience failure. What are my parents going to think of me if I fail? What if this podcast goes to shit? What is everybody going to think of me, right? And we let failure stop us. And what I've realized from a very early age is that failure is your best friend. And the faster you fail, the faster you can gain feedback and you can succeed. True. So these young guys listening and coming up, like when you look up to people like us or me or whoever you look up to, the only thing that's standing in between you and the person that you want to become is time, and they failed more than you did. Yep, and so I have a little rhyme. I'm going to drop it here. Right. If failure's a friend, you'll learn to the end. If failure's a foe, you'll never grow. So evaluate your relationship with failure and ask yourself, am I running from failure or am I leaning into that shit?
Yeah. In terms of even, sorry, in terms of
cut me off anytime because I'll keep
No, do your thing, do your thing.
Please.
In terms of even failing, and first of all, I can appreciate that your parents would want you to do things, not do everything for you.
That's
right? Because that's something you can get used to, right? And then you start 100%. Getting older, you're in school, and it's like, wait, how come that guy's doing that on his own? I'm not used to doing that. So I really respect that side of things, right? And in terms of failure, was there any sort of failures at a young age that really stuck with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I failed at everything. Tried to get on the couch, fell over, tried to feed myself, fell over. But I think the big failures came from like when I got into the school. You asked, did I go to a regular school system? And I did. My parents' whole mentality was, if I create this perfect world, he's going to get smacked in the face in the real world. True. Right? And that's what I said. Like, you can have all your limbs and still get handicapped by the way that you grew up because you were cushioned too much.
Yeah. Or
or they didn't let you fall too much.
Yeah.
And in no way, shape, or form am I throwing stones at those that raised you. Remember, they were doing the best they could with what they knew.
Yeah.
And so I went into a regular school system, and I'll give you a story. I don't even share this story, but I think it's pretty cool. I went to a school. I moved to South Jersey, Jersey Shore for the school system. And I remember I was in a wheelchair, right? And kids are so funny. They only know what they know, and they're like pointing and oohing and on, and I don't even know that I'm different. Yeah. The truth is, when I'm a first grader in preschool, I don't know that I'm a unicorn. I'm just another kid, right? True. And I remember they rolled me out into recess one day, and they gave me this like red kickball. Okay. And I was like dribbling the kickball, and then I was like bouncing it on my arm, and like next thing you know, the whole recess was surrounded by this little boy with no legs of an arm, and they were hyping me up. They were going insane, and so I was loved. Like luckily I was loved. But the real pain and the real failures came when I got into middle school and high school.
Right? Kids get meaner.
Yeah. They do. They're savage, right? Yeah. You see your comments on the pod, you got these 12-year-olds like, stupid ass. I'm like, oh my God, right? I'm like, you're a savage. And so when I got into middle school and high school, we can all agree, hormones, puberty, but also you want a girlfriend. Yeah. You want a boyfriend, whatever way you go, right? You want love. We crave love as humans. And I felt like I was looking around and seeing my friends have girlfriends and boyfriends, and I felt like I wasn't getting the love that I wanted or I expected or I needed, right? Yeah. And there was a specific moment where I was on a school bus. I was about 14 years old, and there was a girl to the left of me, and she was making fun of everyone on the school bus. And I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna eat me up. And I look her in her eyes, and she goes, I don't even have to start with you. You're already too messed up anyway. Look at your body.
Wow. Damn.
And as a 13, 14-year-old kid, the first question, like, why me? The victim mentality. Why is she doing this to me? But what we also need to understand is a few things. And I want to break this down for people is based off specific experiences. Yeah. If you let them affect you, you start to develop beliefs about yourself because of that experience. If you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
And because of that experience, I developed beliefs that I was disgusting. That girls will never date a guy like this with no legs, one arm. I'll never go to my junior prom, my senior prom. I'll never have a wife. And what happens is, if you let the brain run the show and you're not conscious of it, your brain will start to stack.
Yeah.
It'll start to stack negative evidence. So for example, if anyone here has ever woken up on the wrong side of the bed, like today, you could have woke up on the wrong side of the bed and be like, fucking weather in Miami, I just landed, it's shit, traffic sucks, this house, whatever, like you could just start, your brain will start to find evidence to prove yourself right. And so what's really powerful that we all need to understand is that your brain is the best detective in the world.
Yeah.
And based off what you believe about the world and yourself, your brain will find evidence to prove yourself right.
It's what?
It's the law of attraction is what you're talking about, really, right? And the law of
but it could
the power
go
of the
negative.
mind. Thoughts become things,
100%.
right? That's you're really preaching that message right now, and I want to know when you started to learn that, because that's a very powerful thing, and I think that me and him preach about it a lot too. Last 3 years, right? I'm not talking about when we were 12. We're understanding that the mind can be controlled in that sort of way. Like you can kind of control your thoughts and space them out and say, okay, I don't need this in my mind right now. So when did you
I didn't know it back then, by the way.
Okay.
This was, and by the way, all of our journey here is about awareness. So now that I give you the tools, or you give your people the tools, go back and be like, start analyzing specific events.
And you start looking at the timeline of your life kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and you start like finding the gifts, finding the lessons, like reframing things, right? And so, for example, you may know someone that walks around and says, I always have shitty jobs, or I always get the short end of the stick. And the truth is, because you believe it, you do. Your brain will create the scenarios.
It's going to actually get worse and worse.
100%.
Yeah.
So you better have good beliefs, because your brain's going to find evidence.
Yeah.
And so...
But was there a moment necessarily? Because I want to quickly go on the self-awareness thing. Like, was there one specific moment? Was it through a period of time? Like, when would you say that you became really self-aware of your situation and started to almost be like, hey, let me turn this into like a positive thing. Like, let me really start to like build a message around
100%.
me and who I am. Like, was there one specific moment? Was it a period of time? Like, I'm really curious about that process.
Yeah, there was multiple moments, but there's one in specific. And there's something called the law of exposure. What the law of exposure states is the moment I'm exposed to new information, I can't see life the same. So for example, if I took you on a private jet, none of you would ever want to fly commercial again, because you've been exposed to a higher standard. And so when I was 19, 20 years old, I was a Viner. I was a famous Viner. And I made the decision to move from Jersey to Tampa to become a bodybuilder. Okay. And people are like, what the fuck, a bodybuilder? How you can become a bodybuilder? You have no legs. And I'm like, well, most of you skip leg day anyway, right? I'll fit right in. And so I moved to Tampa to become a bodybuilder.
Okay. And what age was this?
I was 20 years old.
Okay.
All I knew, by the way, 20 years old, to give y'all insight, because you can see my success now. At 20 years old, all I knew how to do was smoke weed and pick weights up and put them down.
Wow, you were smoking weed.
Yeah, it's great, right? That's all I was exposed to, right? In Jersey.
Yeah.
God bless Jersey.
So you moved by yourself? What?
I did. So I actually had someone on Instagram reach out to me. He was a successful entrepreneur. He still runs his company, and he's like, have you ever been to Florida? I'm like, nah. He's like, it's better than Jersey. You want to come better than Toronto. You want to come here? And I was like, great. And so I went out there, and for example, like, that was my first interaction to someone who was a CEO, someone who was entrepreneur. That was like my first Lambo I sat in. And the truth is that you may not be winning because you don't have evidence that winning is possible around you.
True.
And that's not to throw stones at your parents. They only know what they know. We went back to that, right? And so if you're not exposed to entrepreneurship, right? We're talking about these young guys, 20, 21, crushing dropship and having Lambos. Like, they were exposed to it at a very early age, right? And so one of my mutual friends said, hey, man, come to this mastermind. I was like, what's a mastermind? He's like, where like people sit around and like think about shit. And I'm like, nah, I've never been to a mastermind, right? Never been exposed. And so I go to this mastermind, and we're sitting around like this, beers, weed, whatever. And everybody's sitting around, and they're sharing their story, and they're like, what's your story? I'm like, oh shit, I got a long story. You want to pull out the podcast mic? And I share my story, and there was a guy on the couch who's actually here behind the scenes. And he said, one day you're going to be on stage with Tony Robbins. And I said, who's Tony Robbins? I had no idea about speaking, business. I knew nothing about that world. And he said, I'm going to work for you for free. And if you like the work we do, and I'm going to get you on stages and share your message. If you like the work we do, maybe one day we'll start a company together.
Wow.
That was 5 years ago, 2 7-figure companies, and I'm currently on a world tour with
And
Tony
at that
Robbins.
point, did anyone believe in you yet at that kind of level? Did anyone?
No way.
No, right?
No way.
How did it
He was
feel
the
to
only one.
Yeah, how did it feel
right?
to have that?
It was
like, at that
amazing.
point? Yeah.
It was amazing. And I always tell him, like, he saw a gift in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Right?
you need that. Sometimes you need that.
You definitely need that,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes it takes one room, one podcast, one person, one handshake
one
away
conversation.
That's it from changing the trajectory of your life. And so, that was the moment where I got exposed to personal development. And from there, I dedicated the last 6 years of my life to mastering human psychology so I can help people break through to the next level.
Man, the law of exposure is
amazing.
is
That's
so
amazing.
true and so strong. I mean, we preach it too sometimes, and we'll even say something like, just travel, go see somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just go have a nice dinner somewhere that you've never had before, right? Go rent a crazy car that you never think you're gonna drive in, right?
Well,
And I
that's the
think
money
people-
side of it because
and people throw hate on that too at the same time. They're like, oh, well, like you're never gonna have that. What's the point of like materialistic things? But it does make your mind see the world in a different place. And Mike Tyson said this on the Full Send pod as well. He said, if you took away all the information that you were taught up until this point of your life, who would you be? Right? Kind of like that, where it's like you were saying, you're kind of programmed as a young kid to believe all these things. So that's super interesting. And I think that made you want to be exposed to more of that, because now you look at what you've done 10 years later, or 8 years later, and it's like, wow, this guy is really pushing the limits, doing everything. So is that when you realize that the law of exposure is a real thing?
Yeah, like I said, these are all lessons that I learned, and I'm like
And you're looking
planting
back.
them in the story. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
But another great example of law of exposure where I really learned about it was I had an amazing month, right? Maybe like individually I brought in like $50K a month, and I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
And I go into an event because I'm always a student of the game, which, by the way, one of the biggest wealth traps that will cap you is you think you know it all. The very belief that you think you'd mastered something is the belief that's holding you back. And so we went into this one event, and I'm like, 50K this month, chilling. And this guy gets up on stage, and he's like, I did 3 million last week. And I'm like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
But like, it kind of makes you pissed off, but it should motivate you because it exposes you to a higher standard of life.
Yeah.
And so you're going to you probably all had moments where you got exposed to something. You're like, oh shit, like I can't turn back now, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you come to Miami for the first time, you're like, I'm leaving Toronto.
Yes,
Right?
literally.
So there's definitely a bunch of moments of law of exposure, and that's what I'd say to the crowd as well, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between having a vision board and then go renting
And
the
doing
car.
it, yeah.
There's a difference between having a house up there and then going on Zillow, finding an open tour, and walking that.
Yeah.
Walking that house.
It's
Yeah.
true.
That's how you touch the dream. You really anchor it.
You
think that's
you
the
got to put yourself in the situation around the things you actually want, right?
Yeah.
We made a habit. It's probably changed a little bit now, but there's an area where Drake lives in Toronto. It's called Bridle Path.
yeah.
That's where like
Yeah,
the
crazy
50,
houses,
50,
man.
60, 70 million dollar houses are.
Let's
and that's
go.
always been like a goal for us. And so it was funny. Like we would literally every other night just take drives through the neighborhood, like literally know every single house. And it'd be funny because I'd be driving sometimes and I'd see him there. Like we
Like,
didn't
yeah,
even-
just passing
we
by
weren't
my
even,
car.
we weren't
Hey,
even
what's up,
planning
bro?
it. We weren't even planning it, right? And so that was always just like
Wow.
and people think it's funny, but it's like it's so true. We would literally for myself specifically, I would drive by and I would literally look at a house and like $60 million house, and I would literally envision myself standing at the front just with like a coffee, my morning coffee. You have to do that. Like it sounds funny and it sounds stupid, but until you start doing that, you really don't see how much it works. You start pushing yourself towards things that are actually going to get you to that goal, right? It sounds funny.
100%.
People are like, oh, manifestation, but it's a real thing. But
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question specifically on when you said from that point, after you guys had the conversation, you're like, I started trying to master human psychology. So I want to know a little bit about how you did that.
100%.
What steps you took, certain books you read, whatever. Like
Yep.
what was it for you that helped you really?
To touch on what you said is people think people say, oh, that's funny and stupid. Those are the people that don't have the results.
Yeah, they'll never
So
be there.
I dare the audience to only listen to people who have the life and the results that you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Your
facts.
advice and
It's
your
facts.
life will look totally different. But the truth is you're taking business advice from mom who doesn't own a business.
It's true.
You're taking business advice or marketing advice from your boy down the street who's your drug dealer.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
They don't you're not going to get if you want big legs, don't come to me. I don't know how to lift legs, right?
But I
if
think
you want a big arm, I got it, right? Like,
I
so,
think the parents thing is huge though too, because a lot of people think like, but no, my parents know more than me, like, you know, and like I have to listen to them. But
Facts.
as you continue to grow up, you're like, no, like I don't need business advice from my mom. I need my mom to be my mom.
Yep,
You know, and I
100%.
think that a lot of people like that's where they mess up, and you know, parents are just being parents. They just want the
they
best
want your
for
best
you.
intent,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And sometimes mommy's best intent isn't your best intent, but she wants to
Yeah.
keep you safe. So understand that. So from that moment, we started collaborating, Ratmir and I, and we built this company. And we were learning about speaking and stuff. But the biggest thing that catapulted my growth was getting in the room, going to personal development seminars. And so when we jumped into the speaking industry, he mentioned Tony, he was already in Tony's room and learning from Tony. And for those that don't know Tony Robbins, he's the #1 business life strategist in the world.
Yeah.
All
Right?
time.
Like works
all
with
time.
you name it, Princess Diana, Conor McGregor, like you name it, he's the guy behind the scenes. And so I was like, if I can get the GOAT, if I can get in the room with the GOAT and learn from the GOAT, I'm gonna catapult. But also, if I get the head nod or the salute from the GOAT, I don't need any of these people in personal development. I got the GOAT,
Facts,
right?
facts.
And so our first event, we couldn't afford it. It was 3 of us. It was me, Ratmir, and another business partner, and we couldn't afford tickets, so we all threw in on my ticket, and then they volunteered. So Tony, on his events, you can volunteer, and you can help people and donate your time and be in the room for free.
Yeah.
And so we go to this event, and law of exposure, I saw the man, Tony, speak on stage for 13 hours straight, and like dancing, screaming, crying, you name it, and kept the audience present for 13 hours straight. And I said, I want to do with that guy. I've never seen anyone do anything like that. I got exposed. Because at first,
shit.
I thought speaking was just like, hey, right?
yeah.
And then I see this guy who's like a wizard on stage. I was like, I don't know what the hell he did, but I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so one of the fastest ways that you can go further faster is learning from people who already have the life and the results that you want. He's been speaking for 40 years. People are like, how are you such an amazing speaker? I would say top 5, top 10. Drake would say I'm top 2 and not 2, I'm 1, right? I'm 1. No, I'm just kidding. I talk my shit a little bit. But I've learned from the greatest in the world. That's why I'm one of the greatest in the world. And so I got to meet Tony backstage, and he invited me to the next event, right? And then I went to the next event, and then I started planting seeds. And this concept of planting seeds, what I mean by that is like, whatever your product or service is, or whatever your strength is, go tell people about it.
Yeah.
Go talk that shit. Go shake hands. Tell everybody, because you'll never know where those seeds will blossom and grow. And so to fast forward the story, I worked behind the scenes for Tony's foundation for 2 years before they brought me up. And they said, hey, Tony's UPW, it's his biggest event. He wants to test you out on day 4. I've already been studying this man. And so I was like, if I burn it down on day 4, something's going to happen here. And so I burned it down on day 4. And they were like, Tony wants you on all his events all around the world. I was like, great.
Wow.
And I never looked back since.
And that was your first time speaking?
For Tony.
For Tony.
Now, I've been speaking to companies and sports teams and exercising my muscle, but I
Yeah.
really got to go on one of the biggest stages in the world and you know, show my talent and show my skills, which led me to being on tour with him currently.
What was that like? What was the tour like? Like, I'm so curious. Where'd you guys go? What was that whole experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing because I moved out of my parents' house, right, when I was 20 years old, and I was becoming a bodybuilder. And I would call them, which, by the way, the thing that I wish I would have did more of, and I'm currently doing, is talking to my parents more. So if you got your parents, call them more, right?
I feel like when you're younger, you just, it goes over your head. Yeah.
You don't get it, right? Or you think you're immortal. You think everything's immortal. You think you're not going to die, and you don't really value mortality, which, by the way, if you valued mortality more, you'd have more of a sense of urgency. And so it would be a year in, I'd be like, hey, I'm a speaker now. They're like, what? You know, like watching my stuff. Or, hey, I'm speaking at an event. There's 100 people. And they came and saw one of my early events. Maybe it was 500 people. And there was a full circle moment where Tony was doing a UPW in Miami Heat Arena. There was 15,000 people.
Wow.
So I told my mom, I was like, hey, come to an event I'm speaking at, right?
Oh, shit.
And they walk up, and it's a fucking stadium of 15,000 people. And I got to go out on that stage. I had them front row, and I told that story about when I was born, and I got to thank them for not aborting me in front of everybody and not making that decision. And the crowd went wild, and my dad's crying, my mom's crying, and so I got to give them this amazing experience. But that was one thing that pops out at me.
Damn.
Wow. Holy shit.
Fuck.
Well, like,
I'm trying to imagine seeing your
Like,
parents
I
there,
know.
or just being your parents there. Like what was that conversation like after with them?
I think as we go through life, we want validation from our parents, right? And sometimes that's disempowering. Sometimes it's like, shit, based on their conditioning, they'll never give you the
They'll
love
never
that
give it to you,
you expect, right?
yeah.
And I think there was a shift of like, one, my dad saying like, I'm proud of you. My dad's like hard ass, right? And for him to be like, I'm proud of you, son, like it means a lot. My mom, like, I'm proud of you, son. But I think there was a transition where you get to a point where you dedicate your life to a craft, and there's a transition where you're not serving from a place of, I'm gonna prove it to you. You're serving from a place of, I know I'm the shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good place. And that's not to be cocky. That's the result of mastery. That's the result of the pursuit of mastery. And so I think there was a transition where I was like, hey, whether you are proud of me or not, I'm proud of me.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a beautiful place that we all strive to be in, is like, despite whether you like me, I like me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And how did you, it's interesting you say the confidence aspect, right? How did you find that balance between being cocky and being confident? Because I think a lot of people don't know how to find that balance, and they fight themselves.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think the first thing is understanding the definition of humble. People are like, be humble. You know what humble states? Humble states, dim your light so I don't feel inferior.
True.
Shit.
Hey, you're doing that shit.
How many times do we dim our light in front of family and friends because they're less than, or they feel inferior?
Yeah.
And so we play it safe. Fuck that. I'm not playing safe anymore. I'm not being humble anymore. I'm going to be confident.
Yeah.
And so I think confidence is not trying to overpower, but like being grounded.
Yes.
Being certain in what you say, like waving the flag of your beliefs and not faltering. You know, oftentimes, especially with like cancel culture, it's like they want you to apologize for things, and they want you to apologize for the things that you say. And the truth is, like, I'm going to hold my ground on what I say. And I think that's confidence. That's comfortability in your own skin. But also for those that are listening, I'm a firm believer that your confidence and self-worth is the foundation to your success.
Yeah.
Because you'll never make more than you think you're worth, right? And how you build confidence for those that are out there, how you build confidence is you start doing the shit that you say you're going to do.
Yep.
Most of you are walking around and you're creating promises. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to listen to more podcasts, or I'm going to move to Miami, whatever it is. And then you don't do it. And what you don't realize is every time you make a promise and you break it, you look at yourself different. You don't know it, but you look at yourself different. You're the boy who cried podcast.
Yeah.
You're the boy who cried, I'm going to make the money. You're the boy who cried, I'm going to move out of my hometown, and you never do it. So not only do you stop believing in yourself, everybody around you don't believe in you.
Yeah.
So start following through in the shit that you say you're going to do, and create undeniable proof that you are who you say you are.
But I think you said something really important about the standing your ground on your beliefs and stuff like that. I think, when it comes, like you're saying, dimming your light for family or friends that maybe feel inferior. I think that, it's tough at the beginning, but it's a long-term play. I think that when you move openly with your beliefs, whatever that is, understanding your success, understanding who you're in the room with, things like that, in the short term, it's tough. Your friends are going to find it hard maybe to be around you. They're going to feel uncomfortable. Your family, even, whatever it is, people close to you. But long term, there's an aspect, I think, that, if you're doing that for the first 5 times you chill with people and then you stop doing that, it's like, oh, he was just acting cool. But when that's just who you become, long term, people start saying, yo, I respect this guy.
Yes.
And then, like you said, the add-on to that is actually acting on the things you say you're going to do. So if you're chilling with your boys or your family and you have this aura about you, and then you're like, yeah, I'm moving to Miami. Yeah, I'm buying this car. Yeah, I'm doing whatever, buying this house. I'm starting this business. And you don't do it, then they're like, yeah, for sure. This guy's a fucking, you know what I mean? He's just talking shit. But you move like that. You say you're going to do things and you do it. It's like long term, it's a respecting. It becomes respect. Like, oh, okay, cool. He said he was going to do that. I respect him for that. So for anyone listening, I think it's just, all of those things are great and you got to do them, but you got to stay consistent.
100%.
And that's the long-term play, right? You stay consistent, people start to see you that way. Like we always had this thing when we first started this podcast, we always used to say, if you want to be known as a runner on Instagram, post yourself running every day. In 3 weeks, everyone's gonna be like, hey, that's Ernesto, he's a runner, even though it's been 3 weeks.
Or
right?
a chef, right? Just show what you're cooking every day. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I see you
Exactly.
3 weeks later. Yo, you've been cooking, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a chef now.
So you can actually use your online presence to manifest that as well. Did you find that?
100%, because I had multiple identities. And I think it's okay. I think everything that you're doing right now, I want people to understand this. Everything you're doing right now is just a stepping stone, right? It may not be the end all be all plan, right? We can jump different identities. And so I went from a wrestler in high school, right? And then Vine came out and I dressed up as a zombie and I scared people. I got famous for it.
Was that the first piece of content that you made?
You've probably seen it.
That. Yeah, I think I've seen
We're
that.
similar ages, right?
Yeah.
And so I was 19 years old, 18 years old. I was a senior in high
legendary.
school.
That's
I dressed up
legendary.
as a zombie and I scared people, went viral. I was the top Viner.
I've seen
Logan
that for
Paul's
sure.
messaging me, like you name it.
Yeah.
And The Walking Dead hired me to scare Norman Reedus in Tokyo, Japan. Right?
Come
I got
on.
paid 10 grand as a senior of my first prank. Right? And so that was the start. That was one identity.
Yes.
Right? And I realized that identity didn't fulfill me.
Sure.
So some of you are doing things right now and you're not really fulfilled.
It's maybe
so
getting
that's
them
your
money.
soul.
They're
It's
maybe
giving you
making-
money, but
yeah.
you ain't fired up, right? So that's your
Yeah.
soul saying, hey, there's more that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so then I go from a Viner and I tell the world I'm become a bodybuilder. And like they said, oh,
Yeah.
and then they see me become a bodybuilder, they're like, oh, fuck, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm going to become a speaker.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you dropped out of college.
Uh-huh.
You don't have any business experience. You only get stages because you're disabled, right? I heard all of this shit. And I had to keep walking or hopping that straight path,
Yeah.
right? And next thing you know, they're like, oh, shit, he's a speaker. And then it's like, oh, shit, he's top 5 speaker.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's all over, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is you show up with enough consistency where they can't deny you.
Yes.
And
Can't deny you at the door.
Yeah, facts.
Was,
Facts.
was that 10,000 the first time you got like a big check for like?
Like, yeah, oh,
You're probably going crazy,
Bro,
eh?
and by the way, I'm the kid that like, my mom was like, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And my dad was like, yo, I want you to be happy, but you got to be independent, right? That my dad
Yeah.
was that hard ass, and I love that. And so I'm a kid that's like, what am I gonna work? What job can I work?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
freaking out. I'm like, how can I be financially independent? Bro, I literally signed up to be a Walmart greeter, and I didn't pass the test.
Wow.
Good thing I didn't pass the test, right? Like I was just trying to figure out. So who knows? I went back to the same Walmart and scared someone and got famous for it, right? Got to do what you got to do. But yeah, that was my first. It was 10 grand check, and actually I used that $10,000 to move to LA.
Wow.
All the Viners were in LA.
Yeah.
I can drop
Yeah.
some names, but they all moved to LA, and I was like, I need to get out there. And so I took my only $10,000 I had. I dropped out of college. I moved to LA, and I went broke. I failed.
Of course.
I ate shit, and to top it all off, while I was in LA going broke, my brother called me and said, hey, I'm addicted to heroin, and I need you to come home.
Wow.
Wow.
And I came home, and my April 26th will be 3 years since he passed. He lost his battle with heroin and fentanyl, which is also because of that pain. Now we're involved in alcohol and drug rehab centers, bringing in personal development to lower relapse levels. So like everything has beauty in it, but it's up to you to find the gift in everything. Everything has two sides, but you get what you focus on.
Wow, man.
Damn.
I'm sorry about your brother, bro.
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
Sorry, that's. But like you said, like you can sit here and cry about it,
100%.
which is okay for sure. But I think there's a moment where you got to say, okay, how can I do good with this? And
Absolutely.
that's
crazy.
And so how does that work? How are you guys involved? What's the like with the drug and rehab? How did you get involved in that? What's that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in a higher source, God, whatever you want to call it. And I felt like, so my brother passed, and if I look at it, I didn't really know my brother. With the age difference, like we just started to
he
kick
was-
it
he was
together.
much older?
Right? Yeah, much older than me. And I felt like I didn't really know him. And so he passed, and I was in a Tony room. I was in a Tony seminar. Life changes when you get in the room, right?
Yeah.
And I was in a Tony seminar, and this guy, Ryan Zofe, he came up to me, and he had saw me on stage. And long story short, I found out that he had a disabled sister that passed at 3 years old. And when he saw me on stage, he's like, my sister wanted me to see this guy. I got to go up to him. And he goes up to me, and I felt like God gave me another brother, and it was Ryan. And Ryan owns alcohol and drug rehab centers, 7 centers in 5 states, and he was actually an addict. He got sober at like, I think 15, had been sober since, and now he's a multimillionaire speaker as well. And he was like, I want to bring you in on my company.
Wow.
And life changes just one relationship away. But I would have never been in that industry if it wasn't for the pain that I went through. So my mentor, Dr. Myron Golden, would say, everything in your life right now is either working for you or it's working on you, but it's always working.
Usually I hear it against you, but it's working on you.
Imagine that belief. Imagine you walk through life
Yeah.
and you were like, everything's either working on me or working for me.
Yeah.
How would you approach life? You're like, shit,
True.
it's all good.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind right now, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Was addiction ever something that you had to deal with?
That's a great question. I think I'm aware of it. I think there in the family, maybe there's addiction to gambling. I think maybe, I think we all have vices, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? For me, when I was a kid, it was food. I love food. I was a fat, chubby Italian kid,
Yeah.
right? And what we need to understand is we use addictions to soothe so we don't heal the trauma. So
Numb ourselves, right?
right? We numb ourselves.
Yeah.
because we were taught big boys don't cry, big girls don't cry, don't deal with that shit, right? Until you're depressed or you have a gun to your head. That's just truth. And so in order to heal it, you have to feel it. And if you never feel it, you never heal it. And so I think even now, I think just to be open, I think I still struggle with, it's so prevalent, is weed. Yeah. Like, oh, weed heals you. Weed's good for you. But it's like over here, it's like, oh, weed slows you down, right? And so like I still battle with that stuff. Not like an addiction and it's taking over my life, but I'm like, are these substances good?
Yeah.
Or are they not good?
Yeah.
It's so hard to tell
right?
with
it's very hard to tell.
Weed's the hardest one, I gotta say.
Right?
I smoke as well. I'm not like an everyday like going crazy, but
sure,
I always no. Well, here maybe a little more than Toronto, but I always have the same fucking thing in my head. I'm like, does this like help me relax at the end of like a heavy day, or is this slowing me down? I always
Joe Rogan
battle.
just had a clip too. Joe Rogan just had a clip with that guy. What's his name? Fuck. Was it Ben? We're talking about weed and they're going back and forth on weed if it's good or if it's bad.
I can't because then you see these like very successful, highly motivating, hardworking guys who are like, yeah, I can smoke a joint every night. Yep. And you're like, oh, okay, Joe Rogan can do it, the biggest podcaster in the world. But then you have other guys who are also ultra successful and are like, no, I won't even be in the room with it.
100%.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
it's confusing,
yeah,
right?
It's so confusing.
So I think what everybody can do and what I did was take 4 or 5 months off and analyze yourself.
Yeah.
Am I more productive? Do I have more energy? Am I not more productive? Or like, what does that look like? Am I fired up? Because the truth is, I think it's personal because like I could smoke and then go hit a lift.
Yeah.
True.
And go listen to 45 minutes of personal development. It's like what you're doing with it while
True.
But also that could be me rationalizing to prove myself.
It could be you just
that's the problem.
So welcome to the Matrix,
Convincing
right?
yourself.
Exactly.
So what I would say is take 4 or 5 months off,
Yeah.
analyze it, and then reintroduce it, but with a healthier relationship.
True.
Because some of you are like smoking all day, every day. You wake up, wake and bake.
You don't
right?
even know what
Whatever
it's
it may
like
be.
to not smoke.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't even know what it's feel like to be sober and grounded. So take months off and then reintroduce it and see if it destroys you again. And then you're like, oh shit, this was really destroying.
Did you do that? Did you do like the
100%.
5 month thing?
100%.
What did you notice from that?
5-6 months. I took off 5-6 months and I got caught. I was like, am I more productive or am I less productive? I noticed moods were up and down, but I also realized that I was feeling specific emotions that maybe I was soothing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to reintroduce it, but only after I crushed everything in my workday.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
Like interviews are done, messages are done. I never serve. I never serve and heal or transform people's lives when I'm on a substance. That's like my rule. I'll never be on stage. I'll never be on a podcast. I'll never be on a coaching call. I'm always sober for that.
Yeah.
And it's until at night where I'm like, okay, I'll dabble a little bit and I'll jump on Fortnite. Or I'll dabble a little bit and I'll watch Twitch streams or something, right? Because I also think that as high achievers, we're very hyperactive. And like do what you need to do, get your shit done, and then do it. But if you find yourself like hitting it in the morning and just assed out on Netflix, there's a problem. And so I think you got to analyze it, and I think it's personal.
I had a very similar experience. I stopped for like 6 months last year, and I was trying to analyze like, am I doing more? Am I doing less? And none of that was really changing. I felt like I was doing the same amount of work, but the one thing you mentioned was there was like a little bit of clarity to my emotions.
Yes.
And I was able to kind of like answer questions that I couldn't answer before in a way. So I agree with you. And I think that's a very good way to do it is take a longer period of time off for anyone listening. Cause I know probably a lot of you smoke to some extent. Take some time off, see what you feel. And then, reintroduce it in a healthy way. I would say only smoke once you're done your day. Like you've finished everything that you had to do.
Yep.
But
Also too, it's like you can even make a game of like, I won't reintroduce it until I make $100,000.
Exactly.
There we
Right?
go.
I won't introduce it until I'm making $400,000 a year.
Reward
right?
yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
So
the reward system. But I want to ask you something. I noticed right before we started the pod, you took the cross out, and then you've mentioned God and faith a few times. So I want to ask you sort of what's your thoughts on all that, religion, God, Christ in general, all that, because a lot of pods we've been doing with some very successful people, they've all mentioned God, Jesus, or the faith in some extent.
Yeah, faith, belief.
So I'm very curious. What's your thoughts on it? What's your beliefs? I'm very curious to know.
Good attention to detail. That was good.
Yeah.
I think you can walk through life and believe there's nothing bigger than you, or you can walk through life and you can toss it up and say, this ain't all me. And I think when you add it's not all me, you kind of surrender to your journey and you realize that you're always getting guided by your creator. Some of you, everybody's on their own journey, and maybe that doesn't come in this lifetime. Maybe it comes in the other lifetime, right? But I'm a firm believer that something greater than me gave me this gift of a heart, which all of our heart is a gift. It was given to us. We didn't have to work for it. So I believe in a God. I believe in Jesus as well. But I also believe, and my mentor said this as well, is like, my life is an offering. I'm here to be my greatest version of self, so I can give you all of me. I can give you all my breakthroughs. I can give you all my trauma, all the things that I've released, all the tools that I've learned to change the quality of my life. And so I believe that I am just the messenger. And when I pull this out, that it's not me, right? I'm a boombox. I'm a microphone. I'm just the messenger. And
an extension.
Exactly. And my creator speaks through me, and all I'm doing, I'm here to do his work. Wherever he wants me to go, I will go. Whatever he wants me to do, I'll do. Whatever he wants me to say, I'll say. And I think that that's a big shift because it drops my ego. It's like, yo, it's not you, Nick. Right? I'm in a vessel. I'm in this meat suit. They gave you a unicorn body, and you're leveraging the shit out of it, and you're making a massive impact. And the cars, the houses, the jewelry, you name it, it's all rented, and it always goes back to my creator.
And was there a certain time, like when did you start to really focus? Has it been your whole life? You've been
Yeah, it's a great question. So no, this is a journey, a back and forth. I was raised Christian, and I was the kid that looked at my mom at like 12 and was like, well, why is everybody else wrong and we're right? And she didn't like that, right? And so I stepped away from religion in my teen years. I stepped away. I want nothing to do with it. Screw that. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people is churches or specific people preach it or teach it in the wrong way and give you a bad taste. And that's a shame because it ruins it. So I would have people be open to that, but also I'm tiptoeing back into with my relationship with Jesus or Christianity. And on my own time, on my own pace, with my own beliefs. And I think everybody, whether it's the trees, whether it's the wind, whether it's God or Jesus or Buddha, you name it, start to create a relationship with your creator and see what happens in your life. Start to just get quiet, maybe get sober, start listening. Like, you all know it, you get downloads.
Facts.
You're like, oh, I have a great idea. Your creator gave you a download, and your creator is going to give you the download and see if you take action with it.
Yes.
And if you don't take action with it, it's gonna go to another creater,
more downloads
another
for you.
person, and maybe your creator will stop sending you downloads because you don't do shit with them.
Damn. You're on fire today,
Oh my
bro.
goodness, right? So I think everybody should get quiet and just talk to whoever you think that is and see what comes. Ask them for something. Lean in, but also, can you walk around and just be grateful for the fact that you can see, you can hear, you can feel, you can walk? I think when you start living in that state, if you believe that energetically, like a human being, you're an antenna, if you live in more beautiful states of joy, gratitude, you'll see your life change.
But I think you made a good point. I don't think it's like you got to go right away to be like, yeah, God, Jesus, read the Bible. I think it's just like, okay, is there something else bigger than me? I think that's always the first question that leads you back into that belief system, let's say, 100%. Or that way of thinking or living. And it's a simple question, but it's also a very complex question at the same time. Like, is it only me? Am I, like, you know what I mean? Or is there something else bigger than what I can see maybe? Is there something is there something that I can feel? So I think that's definitely the first question people gotta start asking themselves. Is there something else bigger than me? And I also like what you said about the humbling aspect of it. And it's also a great way to look at it. Like, no, it wasn't just all you. You had guidance, you had help. Because sometimes I feel like in life you make a decision, and it feels like it came out of left field, but it's that download that you were given essentially, and you're like, how did I think of this? Like, there's no way this just came to me. Like, I was sitting here watching Netflix, and I had this idea that I should start doing this, and that idea changes your life, helps your family, helps whatever your relationships, and you're like, there's no way I'm this idiot on the couch watching Netflix. There's no way this fucking thing just came to me, right? So I think if more people start to believe, I agree that there's another side of life out there that is great.
And you know what's crazy? It's when something good happens, we think it's all us.
Yeah.
Oh, that was me.
Of course.
Bro, I'm a G. Of course it happened, right? Something bad happens. I knew it. I knew you're not
Why,
real.
God?
Yeah.
Of course I was going to get the shitty end of
Right?
the stick.
Like that's, and I know you said during your teenage years, that's when you kind of stepped away. And I know you mentioned in the past, you almost took your life as a teenager, right? So I'd love to hear about that. And I think you'd inspire a lot of people by telling that story.
For sure. So like I mentioned, my biggest pain was women, especially when that incident happened. And that led me to deep, dark thoughts and suicidal thoughts. And I didn't want to be a burden on my family. And that's what saved me as well. So I was like, man, my parents would be wrecked. My family would be wrecked. And so I had the decision. And the decision was like, I can either take control of my life and figure out how this brain works, or you take your life. And I chose to like invest in myself and see where this would go. And that's the thing for everybody listening, for guys that are struggling with girls or girls that are struggling with guys, is a few things. The first thing is oftentimes we think relationships are supposed to fill your void. This person is my other half. It's like bullshit. Your life should already be amazing, and the girl or guy is the cherry on top of your ice cream
Bonus,
sundae.
yeah.
Yes.
Right? It's a bonus.
Yeah.
But also, most of you aren't ready for relationships because your relationship with yourself sucks.
Facts.
Y'all are focusing all this energy on trying to get the girls when you can't even take care of your mom, bro.
Yeah.
You can't even, you ain't got money. You
Yeah.
can't even take her out.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you got to shift your focus.
And why do you think that happens so much, though? Why do you think that's...
Because you get external validation
Yeah,
from the girls.
yeah.
You feel like a G when you got the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all fun and games till you bring her back to your one-bedroom studio and she's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Eating chicken
Right?
McNuggets.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
And so we need to understand that pain is leverage. Humans will change for two reasons. You'll change for pain or you'll change for pleasure. But humans will always run away from pain faster than you run towards pleasure.
Yeah.
That's why y'all don't start going to the gym until the doctor says you're fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't start going to the gym until your girl breaks up with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't start the business until you hit rock bottom.
Yep.
It's leverage. And so women gave me leverage to become a wrestler, to invest in my body. I was like, shit, I can't fix no legs on my arm, but I can get sexy looking naked. I can get a six pack, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is all of you is like, Tate says it a lot. He says, if you're full of anxiety and depression, go get a six pack and then tell me how you feel.
True.
The
Yo, it's
reason
facts.
why you feel like shit is because you eat like shit and you look like shit.
Yeah.
And you're wondering why a man with no legs of an arm has more confidence than you, lives a more grand life than people with other limbs, is because I invested in me. I invested in my coaching. I invested in my community. I invested in my consistency in the word that I have within myself. And this is the outcome of that. If you want success, invest in yourself. And what's really amazing about personal development, it's the one thing they can't take away from you. They
Yeah.
can take your house, they can take your podcast, they can take your following, but they can never take the knowledge that you have in here, and you can always rebuild.
Yes.
Damn, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck.
Yo, it's true,
I'm making mental
man.
notes
Let's
right
go.
now.
It's true.
And talking about relationships, right? Because
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of people have asked you in the past, and I'm sure our audience is very interested. How was that trying to find a relationship? Are you in a relationship currently? And how did you deal with maybe even rejection at times, right? How was that for you?
Oh, man, yeah. So rejection, another one. If you could build a great relationship with rejection, you'll crush life.
Yeah.
This is where people have inner conflict, because if someone if someone values success, they want success, they're moving towards success, but they don't want to experience rejection, they'll never get the success.
Yeah.
If someone really values success, but they never want to experience failure, you never get the success. They go hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that if you can if you can go up to a girl and get totally shut down and brush it off, you can exercise that muscle in business as well.
True.
Nothing will faze you. And so currently, I'm just, and no one really knows this actually, this is the first time public, I'm currently transitioning out of a beautiful 4-year relationship with an amazing woman, beautiful woman, entrepreneur, like you name it, she's it. And I'm transitioning it out because a few reasons, and I think a lot of people get value out of this. The first thing is there's a law called the law of reflection, or I can name it the law of mirrors. And what that means is everything you like about me because it's in you. Everything that you don't like about me, you don't like it because it's in you as well. Everybody in your life acts as a mirror. Now, that's why relationships are so complex and they're so challenging, because that person shows you all the parts that you don't want to see about yourself. And so I had this amazing relationship, but also we lost ourselves. It was two people that love to please each other, and in pleasing others, we lose our own self. We lose our own identity. And so you form this one identity. And I felt like we both lost ourselves. I felt like we kind of got unconscious and on autopilot. Things got, I think the word is mundane or kind of just habitual.
Yeah.
And also, one of the greatest things people can do is learn about masculine energy and feminine energy. Right now in the world, you have a lot of immature femininity and you have immature masculinity.
Yes.
Meaning you're not operating truly out of masculine or feminine. And so learn about polarity and all that stuff. I'm not going to dive in. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to go be alone and experience things on my own and heal on my own. And because of that breakup or that separation, there was so much growth and there was so much expanded awareness about our childhood and our traumas and how we came together and how we trauma bonded and our attachment styles. And some people are like, Nick, what are you talking about? Go Google it. Go learn about it. And so relationships are beautiful. They're a beautiful thing. But I also think that you have to get yourself right in all aspects, because the truth is, if you don't deal with your luggage now, you bring that same suitcase to the next
then
one,
they got to deal with it too,
And also, you can work through traumas in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You have that decision. You can work with it together, but you can also be alone. And I felt like Nick needed to be alone. And I think a lot of people will benefit from this. My pattern is that I won't say things to you because I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
But in reality, I only hurt myself. And so are you living for others or are you living for yourself?
Yeah.
Wow, it's true. I actually want to ask you a question, because you mentioned that both of you are or were entrepreneurs in that, in that type of lifestyle. What was that like? Because I feel like there's this big thing with guys who are entrepreneurial, and they're always like, yeah, I need a girl that makes as much money as me, and she has to be doing her own thing, and And so I'm curious, what was that like in your relationship? The fact that you were both kind of entrepreneurs, how did that affect your relationship?
That's a great question. So I'm a healer, right? I think Drake's a healer, right? Goes into the strip club, tries to save the girl or something. But I'm a healer. I love people, and so when I met this woman, and I'm gonna keep her private just for her own sake, she was working like a 9-to-5, a really high-end 9-to-5 job, and law of exposure. She saw me on my own time, my own schedule, making really crazy money, really crazy impact. And so because of that exposure and that association, she created her own company, this amazing practice that she has, transforming women all over the world, because of the exposure in our relationship. And so I would coach her and I would get her in right rooms, and she's really grateful for the guidance that I give her. And now she's doing it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, a beautiful relationship. And we still have an amazing relationship, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that, you want a girl that's doing her own thing, but I also think you also want a girl who's just inner feminine, right? That's not only because the truth is, women can balance their femininity, and you can call forth feminine.
Yes.
You can call forth masculine, and there's a time and a place for you to be masculine, and there's a time and a place for you to be feminine, guys and girls.
Yep.
Right? And so I think you want a girl who's doing her own thing. She has her own goals. She has her own visions. That doesn't mean she needs to be a tech founder. That doesn't mean she needs to be a multimillionaire. But she has her own vision for her life. Yeah. But also, I think we get away from the guy being the guy and providing, and the girl just like, yo, I'm at home.
Yeah.
I created a sacred space for you. When you're done touring, you're done healing, just so you know, like, this home is sacred. Everything's taken care of. I'm loyal. I'm yours, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a balance, and we want everything.
Yeah.
Fucking humans.
That's what I'm saying. It's
right?
tough.
We want everything. We want everything to be perfect.
No, that's why I say it's tough, because I feel like it's harder to be that person who creates the safe space to come home, like your sanctuary, when you're also growing a business. Yeah. Essentially, like you know how hard it is to grow a business. There's certain things that you just don't have time to focus on, right? And so that's why I asked, because I feel like there has been a shift in what entrepreneurial guys are starting to look for in a woman. And that's even for myself. Like, when I was younger, I was always like, 18, 19, like, oh, I need a girl who's crushing in a business, making just as much money as me. Like, she needs, and then everything kind of switched up. As I started doing that and making money and growing a business, I started realizing, okay, maybe I actually want something different. Maybe I do want someone who I can just come home to and makes me feel safe in a certain space or whatever, makes me feel a certain way. So that's why I asked, because I feel like there's always that battle. These guys want like you said, it's just humans, I guess. We just think we want everything, but we got to be realistic with who we are and what works well with us, like what would complement our lifestyle, right? 100%. And to complement our personalities and who we're growing to be. So there's that conversation I think you got to have with yourself too. But you also don't know that until you experience things. Yep. So you got to go into relationships with the, with the person who does a certain thing and acts a certain way to learn, okay, you know what, maybe I don't want that, and maybe I do want this part of it, not that. And so that's where the experience of it comes in. These guys I know guys who are like, I'm not going to get in a relationship. I don't want to do anything because I'm doing this right now. It's like, but trust me, that's probably a good experience for you. You're going to learn from it. And I think that's another thing. People see relationships as burdens, as like, I'm putting so much work, but you actually get a lot out of it for yourself. You learn about who you are as a human out of this relationship. So I think there's a misconception when it comes to relationships that it's all work. And it is a lot of work. Yep. I'm not going to deny that part of it. But you get, I believe at least, you get a lot out of it. You actually learn more about yourself in a relationship sometimes than you will alone. I mean, they're both good. You need the alone moments, but I think the relationship moments also give you a lesson, a teaching that you wouldn't get alone.
100%. Sometimes what you learn from a relationship is that you don't want to be in a relationship, though.
Yeah. I'm saying you can learn. No, you can learn so many things. No, but I think you learn about yourself. You learn about yourself, and whether that's like, hey, I need to be alone right now.
But even jumping on what he said before, being alone and making sure that you're happy as a person first.
You have to.
Which I think a lot of guys, like I said, that goes over their head. Yep. They're unhappy and they think that being in a relationship will make them happy.
Yes.
Right? They're sad, okay, but she's gonna make me happy. Right? And I think that's the misconception on that end. So you're kind of just wanting to be alone right now. That's the vibe?
You're in that state?
Yeah, and the thing is, I think also men, especially those that are listening, they're jaded because remember, based off experiences, you develop beliefs. So if you got cheated on, you believe all girls are cheaters.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. If you got cheated on, you believe all guys are cheaters. So then you take that same belief and you attract another cheater in your life, and the cycle repeats. Yeah. And so what I would say is be open to new experiences and new people, but also understand that the flowers don't call the bees. The bees find the right flower. True. So boys seek, men attract. Become such a high valuable man that you walk through life on purpose. And if a girl wants to fit into your schedule, fit into your purpose, fit in your time, align with your values, let's experience this and see how far it goes and see what happens.
Yo, shout out Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
Didn't he say something around this? He said, I didn't want to settle. I seen people settling.
Yep.
And I didn't want to be one of those people that settle. So what did I do? I increased my value.
Or he said, they say it's like settle down.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a horrible way to put it.
I settled down with so-and-so, or we settled down. And he's like, I didn't like that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be settling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out PBD, man. Absolute legend. We just had him on, which is like legendary. But I want to ask you, you mentioned Tate, Andrew Tate a lot. And a lot of the things you're saying, the high value man, I know that's like language that he kind of brought to the forefront very recently. I'm curious, what's your take on him? Because I feel like everybody that we have on, we kind of somehow get to him because he's one of the most popular human beings in the world. Yeah, what's your thoughts on him, his message, and the whole thing?
Yeah.
He's a healer, bro.
Yeah.
He's a healer. Healers come in all shapes and forms. He's been put here by a higher source, higher power, to wake people up.
Yeah.
Right? And the truth is, when you are the healer, you are the spokesperson, and you're the one waking people up, they come for you.
Yep.
They come for you.
They don't like that.
Because they don't want you to be awakened.
Yeah.
And so I love Tate.
Yeah, me too. Shout out.
I love Tate. Yeah. Some things are aggressive. Right?
Sure.
Some things are aggressive, but he gets the point across.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, man, is like humans struggle to agree to disagree. Yeah. Like you don't have to fucking agree with him.
Yeah.
To still be open, to still learn from him. Like anyone, it's like we don't always have to agree. Like we could disagree in this pod and like we're still going to be friends. We're still going to build a relationship. Yep. So I think he paves the way for a lot of people to speak their truth.
Yeah.
I think he's making a massive impact in the world. I'd love to see where he goes from here. I'd love to meet him. Shout out to Tate.
Same.
I think it'll happen, bro.
I think he would be like, this guy's a fucking savage.
Yeah.
So I think we'd align. But I just think he's a healer. And when you're a healer, you're always going to have stones thrown at you.
Yeah.
And to this extent, he's got the most stones thrown at him.
And you made a good point, is that he has a message, multiple messages. You don't have to like them all. You don't have to agree with them all. Maybe he has 20 messages and you like 16 of them, and there's 4 of them that you don't like. And that doesn't mean that now you identify as this horrible guy because there's 4 takes that you didn't necessarily like. You know what I mean? And so I
But
think
that's how people like to do it. They like to judge you easily, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you like one of his takes, you're this type of person, right? I'm
Yep.
putting you
Yeah.
in this type of box, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that with any of your opinions or values?
Yeah, bro. I met Trump.
There you go.
I met Trump a couple years
Legendary.
ago. It was a very small, intimate room. It was me, Dan Bilzerian, Jake Paul.
Holy
Like, you
fuck.
name it. It was like a plug room. I
Wow.
got in there. I was plugged.
Damn.
Shout out to Weitzman, Adam Weitzman. And I met Trump, and I was a big fan. And I took a picture with him, and I was like, I'm going to post this picture, right? And I felt like, especially with our brand, it's like I tried to keep like pretty chill. Didn't want to
Like very
want to
neutral?
please everybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
neutral, right? And I was like, oh, let's just shake some things up. And so I posted the picture, and I lost like 30,000 followers in 24 hours.
Wow.
Got shit on.
Yeah.
By the way, gained raving fans.
Yes.
Got shit on by the other side.
Yep.
So notice, like, you're gonna get deep in relationships when you hold your truth. And the next day, because I'm a big believer in, you only get canceled if you apologize.
We always say that.
So
we
the
always say
next
that.
day,
Biggest
the
facts.
next day, I created a reel of me in my underwear, and I was living in a high-rise in Vegas, and I jumped out, and it was the Conor McGregor. I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
Double champ does what the fuck he wants, and it was me dancing.
Yeah.
And people loved it, and they hated it, and I just went on with my life.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, man. Is like, I'm gonna speak my truth. I believe I've been here multiple lifetimes before. They killed me in a past lifetime for talking my shit, and I'm gonna talk my shit in this lifetime too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Big
Trump
facts.
2024 or what? Is that what we're on?
Ron, Trump,
Yeah, Ron or
whoever.
Trump,
yeah.
Anything's better than what we got going
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Facts.
whatever it is. But also, let me make this point to these fuckers that
Say it, bro.
blame whoever's sitting in the White House for why they're not successful.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Biden. You're not successful because you ain't successful.
Yeah.
Stop blaming external forces for your inadequacy, for why you aren't where you want to be. It's not the government don't care about you. Trump don't care about you. Biden
Yeah.
definitely don't care about you. They don't
Yeah.
care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to stop casting blame on these other things and start taking accountability for your own damn life. I don't care
Yeah.
who's in the president's chair. I'm a win.
It's also America. Like it's the freest country on the planet. Like if you can't make it work, like you're out here really blaming the president for you sitting at home smoking
Yeah.
weed on
Yeah.
watching Netflix. Like, bro, come on, wake up. Like, you know what I
100%.
mean? You live in America, the greatest country in the world, literally, where you can come.
I mean, Italy's
know.
up there too, though.
Yeah, I
Shout
mean, yo,
out.
listen, shout out, to
July.
homeland. Shout out to homeland. But like, you can come with nothing to this country
Yeah.
and be something, become huge, be a billionaire. There's no limits. There's no limitations. Yeah, there's limitations, but you can kick right through and push right through those doors. Like it's, so
Facts.
But people just love making excuses, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the thing. And it's funny because I told my mom that I was having you on the pod, right? I sent her your profile, whatever, because I like to show her who we're having on. And she was just like in shock and inspired at the same time because I've been pushing her to go to the gym, right? And I'm like, Mom, you got to get in the gym. Stop making excuses. Like, you have everything you need, just go to the gym. And she was like, and I'm over here making fucking excuses about going to the gym, right? Like, that's so eye-opening to hear that from my mom, right? So, I mean, based on that, like, what kind of excuses have you heard from people? And like, what do you say to someone out there that's making excuses on a daily basis, even to get the easiest task done or the easiest goal achieved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would say it's not a lack of resources that's your problem. It's a lack of you being resourceful, right? And that's exactly why you have foreigners come over to America and become multimillionaires and billionaires, because they don't take advantage of the fucking freedom that you have here.
Yeah.
Because you're so privileged.
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't have any time or bandwidth for excuses.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bring me a problem, you better fucking bring a solution too.
Yeah.
But most of you are only bringing problems, and that's all you want to talk about. And
Yeah.
so only bring a problem to the table if you have a solution. And I think with my creator, the unique vessel that he gave me, I eliminate everybody's excuses, and they can't look at me in my face and be like, I hurt, or
Yeah.
I'm too tired. It's
Yeah.
like I'll sound like a really dumbass if
Yeah.
I say that to Nick.
Yeah.
So I think when I walk out on stage or I walk in a room or hop in a room, that I destroy all excuses and
Yeah.
all bullshit stories.
And even when you're going up there on stage, how has your message changed over the last few years? And what's kind of like your goal when you get up on stage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So early on, my message was, if I can do it, you can do it, right? And that was really great. It was motivational, but I took all of the stones that people threw at me and I reversed them. So for example, I was saying like, people would say like, you're too young, you don't have enough experience, you haven't made any money yet, you only get stages because you're disabled, and you're not tactical enough. And so I took all of that and I was like, I'm more than enough. I'm going to get so tactical. I'm going to build undeniable proof that I'm a badass. And so studying, learning, becoming an expert in my field. My field is psychology. My field is mindset. Like, I am the guy, even at 26, I'm going to be the guy that's behind the scenes of the McGregors or, you know, the basketball team or the celebrities that are getting shit on. Like, I'm going to be the guy that helps them have breakthroughs and shifts. Yeah. And with that, I have to not only learn, but I have to heal myself, because you can only heal people as deep as you're willing to heal yourself. Yeah. You can only lead people as far as you're willing to be led by yourself. And so my message changed because I got more competent. I became an expert more. And that's when you go from a place of trying to prove yourself to like, oh, I'm enough. Yeah. And so one of the greatest pieces of advice that I've gotten is dig your well deep of your knowledge. Whatever your expertise, like if it's podcasting, make sure that you can out-debate anyone in podcasting. Yeah. Make sure that if anyone asks you questions about podcasting, you could teach for 50 hours and you never run out of content. Yeah. That's when people are like, these guys are the real deal. Yeah. And so competency breeds confidence. If you want people to take you serious, go master something. Go pursue mastery of something. And now my speech, my main keynote is a process of breakthrough exercises where I just break people down and have them have enlightenment, aha moments, breakthrough moments. Wow. And when they come into my session, life will never be the same when they walk out.
I want to know, like, because I think this is a common thought for a lot of people who are like, when they hear about these masterminds and these events, these speaking events and all that, from the common person, it's like, bro, that's so corny. Like, fuck these guys. Like, bro, I'm not gonna sit in a room listening to these guys talk. Like,
yeah, they're broke.
Okay, well, there you go.
I mean, like, mindset
I know the answer.
They're broke in their pockets. They're broke in their relationships.
You know, I've been to them. We've spoken at one of them, and I'm curious. Like, what would you say to these guys? What would your advice be as to why they should just get past the like, bro, that's corny. That's this. That's that. And come into a room with you, let's say.
Yeah, they say that because they don't want to step into a room with people that are bigger than them. They always want to feel like the big dog. Yeah. Right? So it's their ego. But also they have a belief that shit don't work. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. When in reality, it's like those are the guys that are making the money. Yeah. So I think it's a few things. But also the biggest cheat code to life is coaching. Yeah. Right? Like, why? Like, it's funny because in school, if you take the answers from the kid who has the answers, you're a cheater. Yeah. But then when you get in the real world, you realize I'm gonna pay as much as I can to get the answers right away, so I can save time.
Crazy.
Right? True. Now we've all heard this saying, time is money. Mm-hmm. If anyone's told you time is money, they don't have time and they don't have money, because time is not money. If I were to tell you, hey, I'm gonna give you $1 million, but you can't wake up tomorrow, would you take it?
No shot.
So that would suggest that time is infinitely more valuable than money. And successful people, those that break out of the matrix, use money to get their time back.
This is quick math right now. Yeah, that was an equation.
Shit, I can only count to one. But we're dropping some math here. Let's go.
To change the topic a bit, you've done a lot of like crazy shit. Like you've fucking Great Wall of China, scuba diving. Like you've done it all. Is there anything that you've done that you even like impressed yourself? You even shocked yourself?
We swam with sharks in Hawaii. And by the way, I was born like this, remember? I didn't get bit by a shark. And I remember after, like, looking at the videos and being like, what the fuck did we just do? Like, we went out to Hawaii with Ocean Ramsey. She's like a mermaid. She's like this water aquarium activist or shark activist. Okay. And they put us on a boat, and she did a really good job at educating ourselves on sharks and their energy, and just act like this and they'll love on you and like not come up to you. And I'm like, and I just jumped in the water and like, I can't even swim that well. And I'm like, here I am, I'm in Hawaii, like swimming with sharks. So I think I've done a lot of things that surprise me. Yeah. And I think that's me exercising the muscle of stepping into fear anyway. Yeah. Right? Whether you're Tate, whether you're Trump, you name it, we all experience fear. But it's those that step into the fear versus letting fear run their world. That's the shift. Yep.
And I'm curious to bounce off that. Like, you've met, dude, I go on your IG, you've met like some of the greatest people.
With The Rock.
It's fucking crazy. Mike Tyson, like just unbelievable people, masters of their craft, some of the most important people in the world. I guess it's kind of a two-pronged question. Like, A, what's it like being in these rooms? Did you ever imagine you'd be there? And then B, is there anybody that you met specifically that you just couldn't believe after you're like, holy fuck, like this is insane?
It's a great question. I think the first thing is realizing that these celebrities are humans. And so a little hack here is when you meet a celebrity, treat them like a human and you'll be able to get in with them.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to be treated like a human. So yeah, I'm definitely surprised at the people that I met. But also I'm always trying to get in the rooms, right? Like I'm always looking at lineups and DMing people and leveraging my blue check mark. Like I'm always trying to get in the rooms. Like Russ,
Huge.
the rapper,
Crazy.
I talk to him in the DMs.
Bro,
Crazy.
no one
I'm
could
gonna
talk
get him
to
on my
That's
show.
crazy.
But that's the thing is like, I just hit him up. Like he was having a tough time, and I was like, "Yo, it's easy to feel like a loser when you don't keep score. Look at the scoreboard."
You
He's
just
like,
DM'd
"Yo."
him now.
He's like, "Yo, that's dope." I'm like, "Let's go." Right? I love you. I love you so much. Right? Shout out to Russ. And so yeah, I've been surprised about the people that I met. I was gassed up, like I couldn't believe I met Trump. You know, like regardless of people shitting on me, I'm 26 years old and I was in the room with the 45th president. Like,
The
fuck
president,
you.
bro.
I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. Right?
The president.
I called my dad. I'm like, yo, 45. He's like, right? My dad's like, my son met Trump. Like, you know, it's just crazy. Also, Mike Tyson. You saw Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I went up on stage and without even thinking, he picked me up. He's like, oh, come here, buddy. And he picked me up for the picture. And I was like, you're fucking G.
Yeah.
Like that, what a heart, man.
Yeah.
What a heart. So Tyson, shout out to Tyson. That was an amazing one. The Rock was really great. That was an amazing one. Tony Robbins.
Of course, yeah.
But I think all these people are amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I can learn something and gain something from all of them, and I can serve them at a deeper level, all of them. And so, it's really amazing. You're one person away from changing the trajectory of your life. And even if you guys think about it, like all the people that you met, because of that, building those relationships and planting those seeds, you're one person away from anyone you want.
Yeah. It's true.
We got you right here.
Yeah, bro.
You're the guy.
You're the
right person.
No, yeah. We've noticed that for sure, man. It's been a ride, but it's a testament to pretty much everything you've said on this fucking podcast.
Did you ever go back and see the doctor that said you had a 30% chance?
He's probably dead.
Yeah.
And I'm alive, right? So who wins now? Shout out to him.
Yeah.
But listen, those guys, they were doing the best they could with what they do, right?
True.
And the majority of your thoughts aren't yours. You pick them up along the way. So
Yes.
you're very conscious of who you're picking up thoughts from. And most of your breaking out of the matrix is going to come from unlearning all the bullshit you were taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to unlearn. You got to do a lot of unlearning.
And in terms of business now, quickly, what are you working on right now? I know you have a few things that you have going on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I speak all over the world.
Yep.
And we're also involved in alcohol and drug rehab centers. But
Beautiful.
I also realized that you can only make such an impact in an hour podcast.
Yep.
You can only make such an impact on a 45-minute keynote, right? And I dedicate my success at 26 years old, for you young guns, or anyone who's not making as much money and impact as me, right? Listen up. Is I dedicate my success to 3 pillars: coaching, consistency, and community. Those are the things that changed my life, and so that's what I offer people now. And so we have my inner circle, my family. So basically, we give you access to my weekly coaching calls, and I bring in millionaire mentors to teach my people. We plug you into a community of like-minded individuals that you can network with, build relationships, do business deals with, and then we hold you accountable to the shit that you say you're going to do. And we're actually giving out a gift. It'd be pretty cool for everyone that's listening. You can get I'd hold up 7 fingers, only got one. 7-day free trial if you go to mindofavictor.com. They can get 7 days free trial. Like, I don't even care if you join and get the information, all of this content that can change the quality of your life, and you leave after 7 days. Just expose yourself to the information. So they can get 7 days free at mindofavictor.com.
We're going to drop the link.
And then afterwards, it's a monthly subscription. You can sign up for the year, but like, get in the room.
Yes.
Right? I got some sauce. You've heard it. If you thought this was good, come join me. Come join the team. Tap in.
I'm gonna fucking join, to be honest.
Let's go. I'll get you signed off.
Yeah.
Unreal. If you're listening, sign the fuck up.
Do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor.
Law of exposure. Start
100%.
exposing your stuff to start exposing yourself to more experienced people with a lot of inspiration for you.
You don't know everything.
Yeah, you don't know everything.
You know nothing. Actually,
It's free anyway. It's free trial.
but I think that's important. I don't know. I test this to show. We had a very mind-opening shroom experience right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it pretty much was just like an ego like destroyer.
Goodbye ego. Yeah.
And it just made me realize. I know he had the same experience. Like, I'm nobody. Like, I don't know fucking anything.
Yep.
So if I'm walking around like I'm this guy, and to a certain extent, of course, there's moments that you need to, but you got to also realize that you need to learn every day. Like you're not all knowing. You know what I mean? So join the fucking
They're
group.
gonna be in there.
Yeah,
You'll
we'll-
see them on the live.
We're gonna be
I'm
in there.
in
We're
it.
gonna be there. But first of all, brother, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming.
Appreciate
Seriously,
you, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's actually my birthday today.
Happy
And-
birthday!
and thank
Thanks
you,
for
bro.
spending the day with me.
No, thank you. I was like, I feel fucking awakened right now.
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ, I'm about to go for a run in this fucking hurricane.
I think a lot of people needed to hear this.
Yes,
At this point.
absolutely. But we have one famous question.
Yep.
We are the MBH podcast. Money buys happiness. Do you, Nick, believe money buys happiness?
It's a great question. Money enhances who you are. If you're a dick, you're going to be a bigger dick. If you're amazing, you're going to be more amazing. If you're happy, you're going to be even more happy. And I think money is a subject that we should talk more about. It's very taboo, hush hush. But at the end of the day, money gives you freedom. Money gives you options, and money gives you the ability to impact more lives. If someone in your family, God forbid, has to go through chemo, I want to be the motherfucker that can cut the check.
Yep.
Right? If my mom wants to go to Italy, Mom, you're going to Italy.
Yep.
I want to retire my parents. You want to buy real estate? I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah.
Patrick David talks about
Yep.
it. There's a transitional character every 60 to 80 years who changes the bloodline. I want to be the one that changes the bloodline. And if you want to change the bloodline, you got to become a valuable man or woman, create money so you can create impact and freedom. But also the truth is that the quality of your life actually comes down to the quality of the emotions you feel on a day-to-day basis. Because you and I both know, we know people with millions of dollars who are still pissed off and angry.
Yep.
So you don't want the Lamborghini, you want how the Lamborghini is going to make you feel. Right?
Yeah.
So I want you to have both. I want you to have the money, but I also want you to have the tools and the internal work and the strategies to feel the emotions that you want to feel on a day-to-day basis. That's what I would say.
Boom.
Damn. You know what? That actually sounds very similar to Patrick's response.
Well, he also says that you can impact more people with money. You can help more people with money. You could be a more valuable person, a more giving person with more money.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just accentuates who you are.
Yep.
If you're a dick, you're a
Emphasizes
dick
you.
with $1 million. If
Always.
you're a good guy, you're a good guy with $1 million. That's just pretty much what it is. But great answer, first of all.
Thank you.
I know you've probably thought about that a few times, and I like what you said. Very important before we end this podcast. Let's stop making the conversation about money weird and awkward.
Yes.
Like
Or
I
bad,
hate
or
that.
just evil.
Just
Like,
bad. Like
yeah,
money's
yeah.
not evil. It's the person with the money.
Yeah.
Who they are, right? So I like that, and thank you for saying that. We've
You
been
got
trying
an
to
event
preach that
tomorrow
forever.
too, right?
Yes.
Good luck at your event tomorrow.
Oh, thank you
Yes,
guys. I
yes,
appreciate
yes.
it.
Smash it. We gotta
have
come out to one.
Yeah,
We gotta come out to
We have
one.
to come out to
We
one
will.
for sure. But yeah, once again, man, thank you so much for coming. We truly appreciate it, and we're for sure gonna have to have you back on.
Yeah, that's for
I'm
sure.
in.
Yeah, and come see an event. On that note, guys, if you made it this far, and I know you did, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you thought of the episode. We're gonna leave everything about Nick in the bio.
Give him a follow.
We'll leave all the fucking his IG, everything. We'll leave all the stuff. And thank you guys for listening.
No more excuses.
Yes, no more excuses.
Let's get to work.
Yes, and on that note, Dean.
Yo.